Welcome to another episode of History Now the Future, the podcast where we take a sharp look at some of the most pressing issues of today, using history as our guide and the future as our destination. My name is Cory Bradford, and this past weekend we saw yet another event that if it were to occur in any normal election cycle, it would completely upend the very fabric of our nation. But because we are in 2024, it was just another average weekend of possible violence in America. This time, the violence wasn't real, but an attempt at violence. The FBI and other law enforcement agencies are telling us that a second assassination attempt targeting Donald Trump occurred this past Sunday. An individual was seen aiming a gun out of the bushes near Trump's International Golf Course in West Palm Beach, Florida. Presumably, this man was waiting for Trump to get close enough so that he could take a shot at the former president. Secret Service agents were able to detect a visual of the suspect before any shots could be fired at Trump. But gunfire did occur. Now, we don't know if this individual was able to take any shots off, or if the Secret Service simply took shots at them first. Either way, the suspect fled the scene, and an AK-47 rifle along with a scope and GoPro cameras were recovered from those bushes. The suspect was later apprehended by local law enforcement in another county. The suspect in question is Ryan Wesley Ralph, a 58-year-old white man who spent years living in North Carolina. Very little is known about Ralph at this moment, but we do know that he has a lengthy criminal record. He was once arrested back in 2002 for possession of a fully automatic machine gun. Now, Trump wasn't injured or harmed in this incident, and it remains to be seen what effect, if any, this will have on the 2024 election. This unfortunate event capped off a very terrible, horrible, no good, bad fucking week for Donald Trump. Last Tuesday, Donald Trump engaged in what would be his second and possibly last presidential debate this year, but with a different candidate. He went head-to-head against Vice President Kamala Harris and proceeded to give a debate performance that even many Republican commentators claim was pretty rough. Donald Trump was 100% classic Trump throughout the debate, raging about illegal immigrants and spreading as much misinformation about them as he could. He even claimed, now famously, that Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio were eating the dogs, eating the cats, stealing people's pets, and fucking eating them. This was a claim that was also made by his vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, weeks ago via social media. Now, the Springfield Police Department has said that there are no credible reports of anyone stealing and eating pets in their city. A friend of mine, a guest we had on the show a few months ago, journalist and author Jonathan M. Katz, posted a video on social media breaking down how these awful rumors about Haitian immigrants got started. I'll be showing a clip from that video later in the show. But these extremely racist and stereotypical claims about Haitians will have a bigger effect that goes way beyond this election cycle. These types of heinous and false claims breed fear, which breeds hate, which leads to violence. The city of Springfield, Ohio was the target of several bomb threats this past week after the debate. At the end of last week, Springfield City Hall, their schools, and several other local government buildings there had to be closed due to these threats of violence. And it's only a matter of time until this hateful and mostly untrue rhetoric leads to real violence against these immigrants. While the week ended badly for this small town in Ohio, it didn't end any better for Trump, as pop star Taylor Swift came out and officially endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Now, some celebrities' endorsement wouldn't necessarily be that important in a normal election cycle. But Taylor Swift isn't just any celebrity. She's the biggest pop act in the world right now, and her endorsement could easily result in an additional 50 to 60,000 young women in each battleground state casting their votes for Harris. That would be more than enough to put Harris over the top in what will surely be some extremely close races in each of those states. And Trump knows this. In fact, Trump got so angry about that endorsement, he literally went on Truth Social and put out a simple message saying, "I hate Taylor Swift." This is a grown man, deep in his 70s, engaging in this type of behavior online. And just a few weeks ago, we reported how Trump was resharing AI-generated photos of girls wearing Swifties for Trump shirts. And now he hates Taylor Swift. Shake it off, Trump. All of this is giving you a bad reputation. And after all of that, a terrible debate performance, polls shifting in favor of Harris, and the biggest pop star in the world endorsing his opponent. After all of that, someone tries to take a shot at Trump. Again, allegedly. Now, in the face of this possible second assassination attempt, of course, Donald Trump is blaming his political opponents. Both him and Vance have come out saying that they believe the rhetoric being used by Kamala Harris and other Democrats is responsible for this incident. But what about the rhetoric that Trump uses about his own plans? The individual accused in this possible second assassination attempt once went to a protest in Kiev, Ukraine, shortly after Russia's invasion of that country. So we don't know this for a fact, but it is possible that the Russian-Ukraine war was on this man's mind when he planned this possible violent attack against the former president. And if Ryan Wesley Ralph, the man accused of trying to assassinate Trump, is pro-Ukraine and wants to take a shot at Trump, is that really because of Harris's rhetoric? Or is that because of Trump's own rhetoric regarding Ukraine? Trump was asked several times during this past debate about whether or not he thinks Ukraine should be victorious in its war with Russia. And on multiple occasions, he said, "I just want that war to end." Trump would never admit whether or not he thought it was important for Ukraine to be victorious, or to even retain sovereignty over the land that is now being invaded by Russia. J.D. Vance has come out on several occasions and said that we spend way too much money on Ukraine, and that Ukraine winning the war is not a priority for him. Many people on the far right of the Republican Party believe this, that a Ukrainian victory just isn't that important. Now, I don't believe we should ever engage in violence against people who we politically disagree with, but if we're asking ourselves, who is engaging in the most extreme rhetoric that could trigger political violence, the answer really couldn't be any clearer. All you have to do is go ask the residents of Springfield, Ohio, why their kids couldn't go to school last Friday. We have a great show for you all today. We're going to be taking a deeper look at these claims about Haitian immigrants in Ohio, and we're also going to get some much needed international news. But first up, it's time for Trending Down. Welcome to Trending Down, a segment where we take a look at some of the more trivial topics floating around the internet in the past week. And you may be familiar with Shannon Sharpe. He has become a major sports media personality in recent years, initially because of his co-hosting gig on Undisputed with the infamous Skip Bayless. But more recently, he's become known for his podcast, Club Shay Shay, as well as his appearances on ESPN's First Take. But before any of that, Shannon Sharpe was famous for being one of the best tight ends of his generation in the game of football, known for scoring in front of thousands. Well, this past week, he was caught doing a different type of scoring when his phone accidentally turned on Instagram Live while he was engaged in touching down a different type of tight end. That's right, Shannon Sharpe was having sex while his phone was actively live streaming audio of the encounter on Instagram Live. At first, Sharpe said that his Instagram had been hacked, but he quickly admitted that it wasn't hacked, and the noises we heard were in fact the sounds of Shannon Sharpe getting it in. The big question here is whether or not Shannon Sharpe actually live streamed this encounter by accident, or if he did it on purpose. Sex tapes can be very valuable, all you have to do is ask Kanye West's ex-wife about that. Now, Shannon Sharpe is using this incident to sell erectile dysfunction medication.
Man, Unc be lying, Unc lying. Okay, hey. Lying?
Come on, man.
He sparks hard, Joe. And, I hit one early this morning.
Apparently, he has some new brand deal with Ro, a telehealth company that sells ED meds. So was all of this staged? Remember a couple of months ago when Snoop Dogg went on social media claiming that he was going to quit the smoke? People thought he was quitting smoking weed, when in fact, it was just an elaborate campaign to sell smokeless fire pits. Is something like that going on here with Sharpe? Either way, his bosses at ESPN say that he will not be reprimanded for this incident, and ultimately nothing is wrong with two consensual adults engaging in the timeless art of smashing. But this goes to show you just how far some companies might go just to get attention for their products. Now, as someone who does brand deals on social media all the time, I wouldn't go that far just to promote some brand. Or would I? Only if the money was right. Next up, another story about a person who's gotten more famous due to a sex act that none of us actually saw, but we all heard about it. This past week, Haley Welch started her new podcast, and if you're not familiar with that name, you're definitely familiar with her catchphrase. She's the girl that invented the phrase, "Huck Tua." And no, that phrase is not referring to what the Miami Dolphins might have to do to their quarterback in the next couple of weeks, but instead it references, well, a particular brand of fellatio that Haley Welch was describing in a video that went way too viral. Miss Welch went from absolute obscurity to being one of the most talked about women in America. And now she has used that fame to launch her own new podcast titled Talk Tua. It's the Talk Tua podcast. Western civilization. Whatever happened there? No, seriously. This young woman saw an opportunity to capitalize off of going viral and took it. We all would have done the same thing. This has probably changed her life. But there are some weird rumors going on about this podcast. Apparently, a fake news article that was supposedly from NPR was floating around the internet and saying that Donald Trump canceled an upcoming appearance on the Talk to a podcast because of this recent second assassination attempt on him. In fact, that article turned out to be fake, probably generated by AI, and there were no plans for Donald Trump to make an appearance on the Talk to a podcast, at least not at this moment. Now, if Donald Trump did actually make an appearance on Haley Welch's Talk to a podcast, well, I think that would be more than enough evidence to prove that we are all stuck in some simulation, and we're all going to wake up here really soon. Last but not least, WNBA basketball star Caitlin Clark is coming under fire, not for something that she said on social media, but simply for liking a freaking post on social media. Caitlin Clark liked the Instagram post where Taylor Swift said she was endorsing Kamala Harris. All Clark did was like the post. She didn't leave a comment, and she didn't say that she herself was endorsing Kamala. But now her social media accounts are filled with right-wingers who are livid about the fact that Caitlin Clark has now put her opinion into politics, as some of them say. Some of her so-called fans are saying that they don't support her anymore because she liked that post. They're even telling her to stay out of politics, essentially telling her to shut up and dribble. We know how conservatives love to use that phrase. Unless, of course, you're Enes Kanter Freedom and you're saying everything they want you to say, then in that case, you're like Thomas Paine to them, just a goddamn free speech hero. The reality is, Caitlin Clark hasn't said or done anything political here. She simply liked a post. And I think the main reason she's getting this backlash is because a ton of people who claim to be fans of Caitlin Clark aren't really fans of her basketball skills. They're not even fans of women's basketball in general. They like Caitlin Clark, and this is no fault of her own, because she's a young white woman breaking records in a sport that has traditionally been dominated by black women. It's like she checks off some weird culture war boxes for a few nativists, and it's sad because she's done nothing to actually attract that type of fan base other than just the fact that she's an excellent basketball player. And now that she's liked this post, that element of her fan base realizes that maybe, just maybe, she's not one of them. She's not some culture war bigot. And do realize that the same folks so upset with Caitlin Clark right now are the same people complaining that free speech is under attack in America. And yet they're attacking a 22-year-old for liking a post on Instagram. Yeah, free speech is under attack, all right. It just seems to be the people who love it are the ones attacking it the most. How very domestic violence of you, America. All right, guys, so normally in this segment titled Lessons in Social Media, I try to show you everything that's wrong with social media, like all the problematic things there. But in this case, I'm actually going to show you a video that gives you an example of social media done right. Now, this video comes from a good friend of mine and actually one of the first people that we interviewed for this podcast. Journalist and author Jonathan M. Katz made this video. He posted it to TikTok a couple of days ago, and it basically breaks down the origin of these vicious rumors about Haitian immigrants eating people's cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio. I'm going to show you this video in its entirety. It pretty much speaks for itself, and then I'm going to make a few comments about it afterwards. Here you go.
So a friend of mine, fellow reporter, asked me to weigh in on this tweet today from J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate and current Republican senator from the state of Ohio. Vance tweets, "Months ago, I raised the issue of Haitian illegal immigrants draining social services and generally causing chaos all over Springfield, Ohio. Reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. Where is our border czar?" This is the kind of thing that is so flagrantly false on multiple levels. There's just multiple lies in this one tweet that somebody who's in public life saying it would have faced calls to resign and have their head examined. Unfortunately, because of the political environment that we're in right now, this is very serious. Not because of what he's saying. His claims here are not serious, but the threat that he is making, that is implicit in these claims, is serious. And what it portends for the future of immigrants in this country, especially under a potential future Trump-Vance administration. So a little bit of background. Springfield is a town in southwestern Ohio on the outskirts of Dayton. Like a lot of towns in the American Rust Belt, it has been on the decline in recent decades. The major employer in Springfield used to be International Harvester, the American farm equipment manufacturer. Factory closed, jobs left, people left, population declined. In the 20-teens, Springfield town officials and business leaders started trying to bring in new industries, new employers to revitalize the town and bring people back to Springfield, raise up housing values and things like that. And they were successful. A Japanese auto parts manufacturer came, a microchip manufacturer came, I think some food service jobs showed up. And all of a sudden there were a number of good paying blue collar jobs available, but they weren't jobs that for whatever reason people in that area of southwestern Ohio wanted. Enter Haitian immigrants. People have been trying to leave Haiti for a while now, especially in the aftermath of the 2010 earthquake, a horrific earthquake that I happen to know something about because I was there for. Also because of political instability and violence, much of which is the direct result of interference and interventions by the United States. I've talked about this in other places. This isn't the spot for that. All you need to know is that Haiti is a poor country. It is a hard place to live. People want to leave, and they have been coming to the United States. Many of the people who have been coming to the United States, the majority of Haitians who have come to the United States in recent years, are here legally. They are here under what is known as temporary protective status. This is an official designation from the Department of Homeland Security that says that because your country is too dangerous for you to go back to, you can stay. It is a legal way to be in this country. So saying that they're illegal immigrants is completely false. The vast majority of Haitians in the United States right now are here legally. Word got out in the Haitian community, hey, there's this town in Ohio, housing is cheap, there's these really good jobs, nobody really wants them, and come and make a new life in this town. And it is the oldest story in the book. People come from another place in search of a better life, they take jobs, they're happy, their employers are happy, but other people in the area fear the newcomers, they are resentful of the newcomers, and they start telling ridiculous rumors about them. And when I say old, I mean old. This is an article from 1883 in the New York Times about rumors that recent Chinese immigrants were eating rats. And in Springfield, these resentments are getting dangerous. This is from last month, early August 2024. There was a neo-Nazi march in Springfield, Ohio. A couple weeks later, the head of this group tried to speak in front of the town council, the city council, and denounce Haitians and warn people in Springfield to rise up against the Haitian immigrants. He was thrown out by the mayor or by the head of the city council. But regardless, tensions there are high. Now, as J.D. Vance said in his tweet, he's already played a part in this, right? He drew attention to this small town in Ohio with a relatively large Haitian population in a Senate hearing recently. But now other people have been getting in on the act. Enter this guy, Ian Miles Chung, a right-wing grifter, far-right grifter. He's a big social media presence. Has actually never, as far as I know, been to the United States. He's based in Malaysia, interestingly. But he has a big following among right-wing and far-right people, especially on X, the former Twitter. And he tweeted on September 7th about a woman who was arrested for eating someone's pet cat in Ohio. And then somebody asked him a follow-up question, like, were they on drugs? And he says, it's Haitians, right? And you can see in this screenshot, this is Charlie Kirk, another right-wing influencer, talking about lots of reports of Haitians eating people's pets, right? So this is a meme, this is a thought that is now percolating on the right from sort of mainstream MAGA to actual neo-Nazis. Thing is, it's really easy to fact check. So Chung probably saw this story in Fox News about a Ohio woman facing charges after allegedly killing a cat and eating it in front of witnesses. This is the name of the woman, which again makes it really easy to check. Alexis Taliaferro. There's a couple things about her that should stand out. Number one, she's registered to vote. Doesn't guarantee, but it indicates that she's probably a U.S. citizen. Number two, she has lived in Ohio since at least 2017, which is when this arrest record is from. And three, she doesn't live in Springfield, she lives in Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. 2 hour and 39-minute drive away, mostly up I-71. And Farrell, by the way, in addition to being an extremely ironic name for somebody who's accused of eating an animal on the street, is not a Haitian name. I believe it's of Irish extraction. Okay, but are there any reports in Springfield, Ohio of people abducting and eating pets? No. This is a story today from the newspaper in Springfield. Police say no reports of pets stolen after viral social media post. In other words, it appears that what has happened here is that a right-wing influencer in Malaysia found an unrelated story about a black woman in a completely different part of Ohio who does not appear to have any kind of Haitian or probably immigrant background at all, doing a creepy and unrelated thing, using that to demean a population of immigrants that is under threat from literal neo-Nazis, and then having that entire thing amplified even further by a candidate for vice president of the United States. And all this in the same week that his running mate, Donald Trump, said this.
They're taking over sections of the state. And you know, getting them out will be a bloody story. Should have never been allowed to come into our country. Nobody checked them. Nobody checked. Were they criminals? Were they from jails? We have them pouring out from jails. We have the worst criminals in all of these countries, 168.
And that is what elevates this from just being really irresponsible and wrong-headed to actually dangerous.
Now that is an example of how social media can be used to educate, to inform, instead of always dividing us, separating us, and spreading misinformation. In that video, Jonathan shows you how you can use social media to figure out if something is real or not, okay? There are ways to research things very easily on social media to find out what the origin of certain stories are, and it's not that difficult. You don't have to be a trained journalist to do that. The tips and skills that Jonathan shows in that video are basically giving you a short masterclass in real journalism, okay? Not pushing an agenda, not spreading misinformation so the person you like can win an election. Now, obviously, Jonathan, it may sound like he leans to the left there. It definitely may sound like he's supportive of one side over the other. But at the end of the day, what I think he doesn't support and what I don't support are vicious lies, vicious rumors that could put communities like Springfield, Ohio at risk for violence. And so I applaud Jonathan for making that video and breaking down how those rumors came to be. We are trying to get him to be on the podcast later this week for our Thursday interview episode so we can talk more about these rumors about Haiti, but also about his experiences in Haiti. He has a very big background there. He was actually in Haiti when that earthquake happened back in 2010. He was on the ground, one of the first journalists there to do reporting from that horrible, horrible earthquake back in 2010. And so I want to talk to him about that and a couple of other things. So he may be on the interview episode of the podcast this Thursday. We're still trying to arrange it. But again, thank you to Jonathan for breaking down where those rumors came from. And that was a great example of how you can use social media to combat misinformation rather than reinforce it. International stories often get lost in the American media cycle because of the craziness in our own country. and that's why I want to bring you some important news from around the world in 90 seconds. First up, 9 people are dead and thousands have been injured after a series of electronic pagers explode across Lebanon. The explosions seem to be targeting members of the militant group known as Hezbollah, and Hezbollah has blamed Israel for this attack, even though Israel has not yet taken responsibility. Not only members of Hezbollah died in these attacks, one 10-year-old girl was killed in the course of these explosions. The United States is now expressing grave concerns over fighting taking place in Sudan. A paramilitary group known as Rapid Support Forces has been attacking the North Darfur capital of El Fasher in Sudan for months now, and the violence has only escalated in recent weeks. Back in May, the United Nations warned that a possible genocide was taking place in Sudan as the RSF militant group began attacking ethnic Masalit people as well as other non-Arab communities there. Last but not least, Facebook owner Meta has banned Russian state media outlets from its platforms over possible foreign interference in the 2024 US presidential election. But considering that a lot of those Russian state media organizations have already been paying far-right conservatives to spread pro-Kremlin misinformation for years now, this may be a case of too little, too late. But hey, thanks for trying, Zuck. This has been Around the World in 90 seconds. I want to thank you all for watching yet another episode of History Now the Future. Like I said earlier in the show, this Thursday on our interview episode, we are trying to get Jonathan M. Katz, author and journalist who has spent a significant amount of time both in Haiti and reporting about Haiti. We're trying to get him to come on the show this Thursday to talk at length about these rumors about Haitian immigrants, as well as his experiences in Haiti. I'll let you guys know if we do end up getting that interview, so expect that this Thursday. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to this page so you never miss an episode. I want to thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.